So we all know about the trade that everyone's been talking about. I've already made 2 videos about it, and I think one of the biggest debates that came up during this whole process was who's better, Isaiah Thomas or Kyrie Irving. Now we can debate about the trade all we want, but what we can, regardless of what happens, is who's better. 2 of the best point guards in the league, and with both players having career years last year, one being MVP worthy and one not, the debate has had more validity to it than it ever has. And never would I ever thought that the first overall pick of the draft would be compared at all to the last pick of the same draft. But here we are doing it 6 years later, and it's amazing what Isaiah Thomas has done from then till now, and it really is just one of the most inspiring stories I've ever seen. But with that being said, let's go ahead and compare 2 of the best point guards in the league. If you don't know the rules, go ahead and check the description, but if y'all watch my last Battlegrounds video, I do have some announcements about the scoring system. 1. These videos aren't meant to be cross-compared. They're their own separate videos. Please do not do that. 2. They do change depending on the video. For example, if I'm comparing point guards, for example, Westbrook and Steve Nash, it would be unfair to Nash to give Russ a 5-6 point advantage in the rebounding category when in the other categories they'd be so close. 3rd, please, these videos are my own opinion and I'm not trying to convey them as a fact. Obviously it does help to get to a better conclusion, to me at least, but if you disagree, please leave them in the comment section down below and keep it civil. And lastly, go ahead and check out bsouls.com because this specific IT design is on limited stock right now because of this trade, so go ahead and get them while they last. Send me a screenshot on Twitter and I'll shout you out. But with that being said, let's get started. Scoring: IT 8.5, Kyrie 9. Now last year Isaiah Thomas averaged 28.9 points to Kyrie's 25.2, and you would think that just going off of that, IT should be the better scorer. But there's 2 reasons why I gave Kyrie the edge even after that. 1, Kyrie's playing with LeBron James. While LeBron does make his teammates better, I don't think that factor really applies to Kyrie as much, because LeBron is still the primary ball handler and the offense still runs through him. Kyrie does have less touches compared to if he didn't have LeBron, compared to IT, where their whole offense heavily relies on Isaiah Thomas running pick and rolls, handoffs, and creating open shots for him. And the fact that there's only a 3-point difference between them says something. 2 is skill. I just think both players can score in similar ways, but I just think Kyrie has the edge in his finishing ability, his ability to create a shot and shoot over smaller defenders, and his ability to post up smaller guards. Also, I wouldn't say this is a big factor, but in the playoffs the past 3 years, Kyrie has been a much better scorer, but this is primarily due to teams collapsing in on IT, and this is where having a guy like LeBron really helps out Kyrie, because they can't just focus their whole defensive scheme on locking down one player, which helps Kyrie be a better scorer in the playoffs. But even if that's the case, Kyrie has already shown that even without LeBron, or even if LeBron's having an off night, he can still be a great scorer, if not a better scorer than he already is. In Game 3 of the Eastern Conference Finals last year, where LeBron had his worst game since 2011, Kyrie still scored 29 points on a ridiculous 66% shooting from the field, including 4 threes. And the game after, when LeBron was still cold for half of the game, this man Kyrie went off for 42 points on an even better 68% from the field. Although let's not act like Isaiah Thomas hasn't had his fair share of scoring bombs, like the 53-point game he had on John Wall against the Wizards, shooting 55% from the field, and the 42 he had on the Hawks in Game 3 the year before, when they were specializing their whole defense on locking down IT. But overall, I'd still give the slight edge to Kyrie. Passing: IT 6.5, Kyrie 6.5. So these guys aren't really known for their passing, but in my opinion, they're pretty underrated passers, and to me, I would give the slight edge just slightly to Kyrie, but I just don't think that edge is even a 0.5 edge, you know what I mean, in favor of Kyrie, so I just decided to give them a tie. On one end, you have a guy in Kyrie who averaged 5.8 assists with one of the best facilitators in the league, and one of the best facilitators the league has ever seen in LeBron James, being their primary ball handler. So I think the fact that he got 5.8 assists is pretty impressive. On the other hand, you had Isaiah Thomas, who averaged 5.9 assists on a team where, yes, their offense did run through IT, but the offense that they ran for IT primarily was based on getting open shots for him and having constant ball movement instead of one guy trying to create open shots for his teammates like what they do in Washington with John Wall, which is why he has so many assists per game. I'm not saying IT can average 10 assists per game, I'm just saying it might be lower than what his actual capability is. IT does have more turnovers, but that's again primarily due to the fact that he is still the primary ball handler for the team, and even at that, the difference really isn't that big. And even if we look at advanced statistics, their secondary assists per game are not that far off, along with the other metrics. Rebounding, IT 4, Kyrie 4. So really not that much to talk about here. Both average around 2 to 3 rebounds per game in their career. Nothing really special. Again, if I was going to give the edge to someone, it would be Kyrie. But like I said, I don't want to make it as much as a factor in battles like these because it's just rebounding for point guards. And especially if the difference is so close, there's no reason as to why I should give anyone the edge really. Defense, IT 3, Kyrie 4.5. In almost every metric you look at it, Isaiah Thomas is one of the worst defenders in the league, if not the worst. And it's really not his fault. The man's 5'9" and the conversation kind of ends there. He does try, and I'm gonna be honest, I don't even blame him for not trying because of the fact that it doesn't really change the outcome that much, and I'd rather save my energy for offense if I was him. Kyrie, on the other hand, is more of an effort problem. He's still a below average defender, but you also have to remember that Kyrie doesn't have the luxury of having an Avery Bradley, meaning more often than not, he is guarding the other team's best guard, which is why I don't really like bringing up the defensive rating stat. Although, I know I did once on Twitter, chill out. But Kyrie does have his defensive moments, and he's not as much of a mismatch as I'd see on that end, but regardless, he is still a below average defender, but he's still better than IT on defense. Leadership, IT 9, Kyrie 6.5. Now this one to me is a clear edge to IT at the moment. IT's led the team the past 3 years, and they wouldn't be where they are right now without IT, period. He came in halfway through the season in 2015 when the Celtics were expected to be a lottery team, and he carried them to the 7th seed. The year later, he improved even more, led them to a 4-way tie for the 3rd seed in the East, and gave the Hawks a run for their money, even though their focus on defense was strictly guarding IT. Then last year, I don't care what conference it was, if it was that easy, goddamn John Wall or Kemba would have done it. But IT did lead the Celtics to the 1st seed in the Eastern Conference, averaging damn near 30 points a game at the height of 5'9", leading by example, and in the playoffs, with the tragic death of his sister, came back, played against the Bulls and beat them, went up against the best point guard in the East, dropped 53 on him on his sister's birthday, and led them to the Eastern Conference Finals, where sadly he did suffer a hip injury, but what people don't remember was he was fighting with the medical staff because he wanted to play so badly. He's recruiting all these stars year in and year out and brought the Celtics back to relevancy. Meanwhile, to me, Kyrie doesn't get enough credit for being a leader, but I get where people are coming from. He really hasn't shown that he's a good leader, but he also hasn't really shown that he's not. His first 2 years in the league, he was 19-20 years old with straight garbage around him in a team that was trying to tank. LeBron came and he never got a chance to prove his leadership since then. And then people bring up the whole, the Cavs have a terrible record when LeBron is out. To me, that doesn't really show how bad of a leader Kyrie is. It just shows how valuable LeBron is to that system and to that team. Taking LeBron out of that system is like taking a processor out of a computer. It doesn't run without it. And I think it's unfair to Kyrie that he has to lead a team that's not even built for him, and he gets judged on 14 games where LeBron was out but Kevin Love was playing, where they went 3-11. 14 games? Really? That's too small of a sample size to me. But people forget in Game 5 in 2016, although LeBron dropped 41 as well, it was Kyrie, not LeBron, who set the tone of that game from the get-go. In Game 3 this year, it was Kyrie who stepped up for the Cavs when LeBron was having an off night. Although they still lost, it was only because of a lucky game winner. The game after that, like I said, it was Kyrie who led that team to victory. And in Game 4 this year in the finals, yes, LeBron had a 30-point triple-double, but it was Kyrie who led that team to that win, dropping 40 points on 56% shooting from the field. And y'all might say that's only 4 games. Well, the people that are saying he's a terrible leader are just using 10 more games to judge his leadership. So y'all decide on that. Accolades, IT 7, Kyrie 8. So both of these guys came into the league at the same time, so this is pretty simple. They both made the all-rookie team, they both have an all-NBA, but Kyrie does have 2 more all-star appearances the Rookie of the Year, an All-Star Game MVP, and a championship. Clutchness, IT 9.5, Kyrie 10. Now to me, these two guys are the clutchest players in the league in my opinion. I don't even know if that's a word, clutchest, but we're gonna roll with it. It's kind of ironic because people forget that Kyrie's first nickname coming into the league was Mr. Fourth Quarter. Now IT's nickname is also Mr. Fourth Quarter, or King of the Fourth, whatever you want to call it. Now, but to be real, in terms of clutch performances and clutch statistics, they're pretty close. I mean, I already explained IT's clutch performances, his 53 points against the Wizards on his sister's birthday, 42 against the Hawks, but aside from those, I just don't think IT's been given the opportunities to be clutch, unlike Kyrie, who has because he has LeBron. Like, you can't say Kyrie's more clutch simply because he's done it on the biggest stage when IT hasn't even had the luxury of being on that stage because he doesn't have a LeBron. But in the regular season, IT was second in clutch scoring at 5.1 points per game, shooting 49% from the field, 40% from 3 and 90% from the line, as they went 30 and 14 in those games, on pace for a 56-win season. In the playoffs, he improved even more, averaging damn near 8 points per game at 7.7, shooting 57% from the field, 40% from 3, and 100% from the line. Meanwhile, Kyrie doesn't really have the numbers like IT, but he's still one of the best. But he still is always in the top 15, top 10 in clutch scoring. And what to me puts Kyrie above IT is because of the moments. Game 5 against the Warriors where he dropped 41 points. Game 7 against the Warriors where we all know how that ended. Coming back 6 months later, hitting another game winner on the Warriors. Coming back 6 months later again and dropping 40 on them in their only win. And it's because of these moments that most, if not everyone, would want the ball in Kyrie's hands at the end of games more than anyone, even LeBron James on his team. And he delivers almost every single time, and it's amazing. Both are extremely clutch. Don't get me wrong, and I'ma sound hypocritical as hell when I say this, but I will have to give Kyrie the edge because he's done it on the biggest stage. But as you see with the score, the difference really is not big at all. Value, IT 8, Kyrie 9. Now again, this is where you can't cross compare battleground videos because it's different for every single comparison. In a comparison like this, we really can't just look at their value to the respective teams the past couple of years. We have to look at their value moving forward as well. Because like I said, IT's value to Boston is tremendous. He brought them back to relevancy, sped up the rebuilding process by like 3 times, got them Al Horford, got them Gordon Hayward, and potentially got them Kyrie Irving as well. His value was undeniable. But moving forward, IT's hip is questionable. He's 28, 29 years old. He is still 5'9", and he can only go downhill from here. Meanwhile, you have Kyrie, which, like I said, going by the metrics, with the whole when LeBron is off the court metric, he's not that valuable. But without Kyrie, they lost 2015. And although personally, I think the Warriors still would have won if Kyrie was healthy, I think he definitely would have made it a 7-game series. They wouldn't have won in 2016 without Kyrie, period. And in 2017, they would have gotten swept without Kyrie. Without Kyrie, LeBron doesn't go back to Cleveland, which put them in the position to even be in those finals. Added to the fact that the guy's only 25, has already been to 3 finals appearances, not even in his prime, under contract. And to me, it's clear that Kyrie is more valuable than IT, but we can't just shove aside IT's value to the Celtics. Head to head, IT 8, Kyrie 8. Now, head to head, there's really not that big of a difference. They average around the same numbers, with IT being the main focus of the Cavs defense, while Kyrie is primarily guarded by Avery Bradley, to me the best guard defender in the league. Added to the fact that Kyrie only has 1 win on IT, I just don't think there's a significant difference with them head to head. So now that we have all the scores added up, you can take a look at the values one last time. And if we add everything up, Isaiah Thomas gets a score of 63.5, while Kyrie Irving gets a score of 65.5 and comes out as the winner of this NBA Battlegrounds video. But with that being said, I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I am out. Peace.